Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the boys, Martin and George, for a bit of a fun show. It's our end of season special where we take a look back at some of our predictions in our pre-season show and do a little bit of a review of the season. I am getting slightly better after Sunday's debacle. I'm still not fully over it yet, but I'm getting there. And hopefully this show will bring me a bit more fun too. If you're new to the channel, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, please, before we get going. We are marching on to 6,000. We are literally, I think we're just over 300 away. We're very, very close to 5,700 now. So I think we'll get 6,000 very, very, very soon. You guys can help us get there by liking, subscribing, and get in the comments your thoughts on our predictions, your thoughts on what your predictions were at the start of the season, and also how you think the season has gone. Martin, freshly shaved, looking young and fresh. How you doing, mate?
All good. Had a fight with a lawnmower, but it was one of them things where I had the electrical razor and a bit of a, too much kind of came up on one side, so it's not going to grow back. So I had to get rid of it all. Unfortunately, I think I'm about 12 years old again. It's the curious case of Benjamin Button.
Yes. Well, he hasn't had the shaver out. He's still got his stubble, his designer stubble. George, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Rich. Yeah. You are looking rather fresh there, Mark. You might have just encouraged me to go upstairs and have a quick shave before bed tonight. If I can look 12 like you, it's great days. Take me back to the glory days.
Well, look, George, we were all told we were fresh on the channel, so if you want to have a shave and get all the fresh comments in, you can.
Oh, now we know why he's done it. Geordie, Toon for life. Yes, we love your support, mate. Even though you're a Toon fan, good evening. Just here to give you a chance some support. He comes in peace. No problem at all. You're more than welcome, mate. You're my favorite Geordie Newcastle fan, mate. Don't worry about that. Deontay, hello, and Stephen Dristas. Kevin, good to see you in the chat. Yes, season tickets out next week. And yes, Martin Senior, who's the kid and where's my son? There you go. He's got a new son. What's happening? Michael's on holiday. He's in Antalya. Amazing stuff, Michael. I hope
I'm actually actually next week, so I'll be in Turkey next week myself.
Great. And yes, we'll talk Europa League. There's a few comments already coming about our next season in the Europa League. Adam is in the chat as well. Great to have you on. You might see your chat coming up live as well, and the new StreamYard via YouTube brings people's comments up live on the chat on the screen, which is great as we're watching. So that's really good addition. So we did our predictions at the start of the season. We did who we thought was going to get relegated. We did who we thought were going to win the league, what we thought the top four was, in and around that, where Villa were going to finish. Then we did our individual awards, so flop of the season, breakthrough award, young player of the season, and main player of the season. So we didn't do too bad without giving too much away, but a few howlers in there that I've tried to get the clips off for everyone's amusement. So we'll fire through them, and then we'll go into kind of more reflections on the season and what we think, how you boys think the season's gone. So let's talk who, in general terms, the relegation picture. So I just thought I'd start off with this little clip. And actually, I thought this was a howler before then I looked at what everyone else was doing, but this was
Did this about 10 minutes before we came on, so it was a bit of a rush job. But I think my 3 to go down, I think I went with Forest. They've they've not really convinced me since they've come up. Cheers,
there
mate.
you go, George. Now, you may think that was an absolute howler. So there's a bit of a feedback there, I think, of someone speaking. But yeah, you might think that's an absolute howler. However, when we went through everyone's picks, here we go.
Yeah, Martin says Forest, Leicester, Southampton. Sam says Forest, Southampton, Ipswich. And Gareth, talking tactics extraordinaire, says Ipswich, Forest, Southampton. Kev says Ipswich, Bournemouth, and Leicester. Obviously, Bournemouth losing. Solanke. Willie says Leicester, Forest, and Southampton. PJJ says Forest, the Saints, and Leicester. So very common across the board. Stephen said Brentford if they lose Tony, and Nick, who obviously does our fantastic intro, says the Dingles are going to be in trouble, and he and I were on the same wavelength because I actually put Southampton, Ipswich, and Wolves to go down.
So quite a few of us said Nottingham Forest. I'm pretty sure Kev said that. I've got the picture of who we thought was going to get relegated, but we'll flick that into the league winners. But Martin, Nottingham Forest was on everyone's radar, and I'm trying to think back to the start of the season and why that might be the case. They obviously just about scraped safety the season before, and was Nuno in charge at that point? Had Cooper been sacked? I think he'd been sacked into last season. So I'm just trying to think of why we were so hot on Forest.
I think we're probably so hot on Forest to go down because it obviously just scraped relegation, and you have to remember the job that Nuno had done at Tottenham beforehand. You know, he didn't really do a great job there, so you kind of felt like, is he now punching above his weight in the Premier League because he had a good team at Wolves, had a good system, and the players kind of adapted to that. But with Forest, you just felt that maybe with the 3 coming up, you would have thought Leicester and Ipswich would have got decent results against them, but it seems to be quite the opposite. You know, they finished in the European place into the Conference League for next season. I can only take my hat off at them and say that I was wrong about this one. So there's nothing else to say about that.
Yeah, and obviously, George, at first I thought yours was the only pick for Forest, but then pretty much all of the panel picked them, and I think a lot of pundits had Forest in their bottom 3. And Kev, I think Adam says, makes me wonder why anyone had faith in the promoted 3 to stay up, and none of us had all 3 to go down in that. But have Forest been I guess on that evidence, they've been the biggest surprise package of the season then?
Yeah, you've got to give Forest credit and fair play. And if there was any Forest fans listening, I apologise for that poor prediction. As I said on that one, I hadn't seen nothing really. I could never see a style in them, or they were just sort of hovering about, throwing money at anything, basically anything that stuck. And fair play to them. Eventually, some of them players did come good, didn't they? They got a great deal with Alanga, who's had a great season. You got Chris Wood at about, 33, 34, just banged 20 league goals in. Morgan Gibbs-White had a cracking season for them. The defenders, Murillo and Aina, no one had probably heard much about them. And
Milenkovic as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I just think Nuno, fair play, his stock was sort of on the drop, but he's kind of gone back. It was almost back to the old Wolves style, wasn't it? When he first went in there and he come across something that worked, started winning away from home. I mean, I think they got 10 away wins or something like that. It's incredible, really. And fair play, it's a shame for them falling away as they did, because I actually thought, got a few of, you boys did probably ask me about 2 months ago. I'd have told you they were home and hosed for the top 3, let alone top 4 or 5. And they've ended up dropping right off, and, and they've only got Conference League. But we're all saying they were going to go down. So I think when all the dust settles, they'll realise they've had a pretty good season and they can look forward to a European campaign next year, even though it's not the big one.
Yeah. Fair play to them. And none of us actually had the bottom three. All of the bottom three. We had 2 out of 3 of various combinations. Some of us said Southampton to go down. Some of us said Ipswich. Some of us said Leicester. So yeah, we weren't all correct. League winners. Any surprises for you? Just before I bring that up, can you remember who you picked?
Shall I go, Mark? I know.
I generally can't remember. I think it might have been between Man City and Arsenal that I might have picked because I felt Liverpool was going to finish outside the top 4 at the time. If I'm correct on that, because I really don't remember these predictions, because I was thinking of the year previous that we done. So I might have had Man City or Arsenal. Maybe I might have said Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, let's bring it up. So this was everyone's. And so let me just take those comments off for a second. So yeah, league winners: Arsenal, Man City, Arsenal, Man City. So no one had Liverpool, and as I said before, in terms of the bottom 3, 4 or 5 of us had Forest, which is a bit mad. So yeah. It was an interesting one, and think about that with regards to Liverpool just totally again surprising people in terms of them winning the league so easily. George, it was a canter really for them this season.
Yes, it was. Yeah, everyone it was either City, wasn't it, to carry on their domination, or it kind of felt like it was Arsenal's turn. They've been knocking on the door, haven't they, for a couple of seasons? And, and they're solid at the back. They'd learned how to beat Man City in the one-off game, but they couldn't quite complete the season. And, I think they're going to be feeling very upset this year that it's not gone their way again. But for me, as soon as City just fell off, didn't they? Must have been about October, November time. And literally, I think they lost about 3 games. Yeah, I think they lost about 3 games, and it was over for me. I was like, Liverpool have got this already. It's clean cut already. Liverpool, they've had a great season. I wouldn't say they've been the most exciting champions there's ever been, but very workmanlike, bit like the Liverpool of the 80s. Just win. I think until the last few games, I'd only lost like 2 games all season. Salah's had a cracking season, and yeah, fair play to him. Worthy winners.
Yeah. Martin, do you see Liverpool kicking on next season? I'm not going to do early predictions yet, but just as we're talking Liverpool.
Yeah, you would imagine so, with the players that they're bringing in. They're bringing in Frimpong, Kirkes looks like it's a done deal. And then you've got Florian Wirtz, who looks like who's going to come in as well. I think they'll kick on. Rumour has it they're going to go for a striker as well. So I think they'll kick on, even with Mo Salah and Van Dijk tied down to new deals. There's a feel-good factor in that club at the moment. So I just think that they'll kick on to be title contenders again. And to be honest with you, they might even run away with it because Man City are going to go through a rebuild. You have Arsenal, who seem to be this nearly club because it's been 5 years now under Arteta, and the only thing they won was an FA Cup, and that was with Unai Emery's team, mind you. And yeah, don't get me wrong, he plays good football. He had all these points that they like to say that they brought into the table, but they've no titles to show for it. So I just think that they've been a nearly club, and I just think Liverpool run away with it, and I don't see anybody else being too close to them next season.
Yeah. Well, we will do a prediction show, I'm sure, as it comes up to the first game of the season. So we'll save that for then. But top 4 was the next one, and I've got a couple of fantastic clips here that really highlight how far away we were. George, you could be the judge. Which one was the worst call?
I know Martin wanted me to mention he's got a little bit of a surprise one as well. I believe he's got, where is he? He's got Arsenal, City, Villa. So he's got Villa in 3rd, and he's got West Ham in there as the top 4.
Wait for it.
City, Liverpool, and I've gone for Manchester United.
Why have you gone for Man United?
I just think they're going
to... Who had the worst call? Martin with West Ham or me with Man United?
Before you say that, and George, I'm going to justify my pick. Right?
No,
Before
no,
you say
no,
anything.
no. You can't
No,
justify it yet.
We have to justify this. Oh, God. Go on, George. Go on.
Sorry, mate. There's a bit of a delay there. Sorry, say that again. What have I got to do?
I said, who had the worst call? Martin with West Ham or me with Man United?
Well, they're pretty much equally as bad as each other, aren't they? West Ham are like pretty much the flops of the season with all the hype around them at the start. There was quite a lot of talk that they'd won the window and that they were going to be a great shout for top 6, and it just never really happened from them at all, did it? And yeah, and Man United, you know, they've had a disaster season as well. God knows what's happened to them, and you know, trust them to save their one good performance of the season against us to ruin ours. But yeah, but to be honest, lads, you've both had an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, well, I think it was an absolute stinker. Martin, go on then. Try and justify yourself for that call.
Actually, George explained it perfectly for me. I mean, the players that they signed in the summer, you just felt they were going to kick on. It was David Moyes. He got like strong defensive players into the team. You felt might have just kicked on, you know, to be in that top 4 bracket, because I felt at that time, because Klopp had just left Liverpool, were they going to go through a bit of an era where they might not break into that top 4 due to the system that they played, but obviously they won the league. Man United, I never really felt was going to even finish in the European place, but the way they were going, really on a massive decline. Now, to the extent of where they've been, I would not have put them there. I wouldn't have put them 9th, 10th at the very lowest, but I would never put them in 15th to where they finished. And I just felt that with the signs that West Ham made and the team, when I looked at it, it looked really good. And I was really worried coming up against them on the first day of the season. Yeah. So that was my justification as to why I think they would have finished 4th, but that wasn't the case. But Rich, you're worse.
Well, look, we all tried to justify it. I think I said, you know, Ten Hag had won a cup and they might have had a bit of a feel-good factor, but that certainly didn't prove to be the case. Deontay said he had Manchester United to finish in the top 4 as well. Crazy. Geordie, Tune for Life, says Man U finished lower, so it's you, Rich. Yeah, well, Martin will agree with you. Adam, the fact people genuinely thought United could be top 4 shows how awful Amorim has been. Kevin said he picked Villa for 5th, so he wasn't far away. Yeah, we'll quickly come on to the Villa finish in a second, because obviously, Martin, you had them in 3rd, and Kevin had them in 3rd as well. But George, a little bit of prophecy from you, maybe not the exact score, the exact position, sorry, but let's just have a look at this clip.
7th, and I can hear all the boos coming from everyone listening there.
Gary's agreeing with you, mate.
Oh,
Gary's
there you go. There
you.
is someone. Yeah, I just think I'm just a little bit alarmed about after Christmas last year. It was as if we run out of steam, and it's like everyone found out they've worked out that high line, didn't they? And we struggled a bit. Like, I think if you put our second half of the season, I think we were about 10th, and I just thought that drop off was a bit alarming. But you know, hopefully I'm completely wrong. But even if it was 7th, it's not really that bad. It's just that it's a congested. There's a lot of quality up there, isn't there? You know, we done well last year to hold off Spurs. You think there was Chelsea below us, United below us, Newcastle, West Ham below us. They're all good sides, and you know it's going to be it's going to be tough. You know,
cut his feed. I'm on live, aren't I? Here?
I can hear you, Kev. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, let's wait and see. It's going to be an exciting Premier League, and I hope we can do it again. But how much are we going to go for the Champions League as well? Because you know we might only get one shot at this. So have we got enough to go on all these fronts?
There you go, George. Bit of prophecy there. Could we ever go in the Champions League? No, you weren't far away at all.
I remember, Martin, you was absolutely fuming when I said 7th. It was like I'd really insulted your family or something. You was livid.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy with you. I was just thinking I'm going into that shed and wrecking that dark place. He had a bar in there. I'm wrecking anything that was in there. I was wrecking.
Tables are going to be
turned. I did not care. You sent me the invoice. I'm not even going to tell you my address in order. You just have to find it yourself. That's how much torture I was willing to give you.
Yeah, and also I think Adam makes a good point. It's just come up on the chat there that we were 10th after 28 games, and I know Jacob from The Athletic has talked about the run that we had between September and February, 21 games, we only won 6 of them, which really meant that we had to go on this run to even put ourselves in with a chance. So, we can't be relying on that big out of nowhere run. And we have been a bit of a momentum team, haven't we? We took the momentum from the season where we qualified for the Champions League, the Conference League, to then go into the following first half of the season. Then we really dropped off. And then we kind of had a bit of a mixed start to this first half of the season. And then we've really kicked on this second half of this season. So we really need to try and put just two good halves of a season together rather than one great one and one poor one. That's what we really need to do. But look, let's have a look at the where we had Villa finishing and what everyone's top fours was going to be. So there we have it. George had didn't get everyone's on this one for some reason, but George had Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Newcastle. Kev had Man City, Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool. Martin, Arsenal, Man City, Villa, West Ham. Me, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Man United. And Villa finished 7th for George, 3rd for Kev, 5th for Sam, Martin 3rd, and me 6th. So yeah, just about right for me. But I don't think that redeems my top 4 shout, unfortunately. But so let's talk about the players. And I think the first one we had, I haven't done any clips for this one, but flop of the season. It's never a good one to talk about. And I think we had, I don't think I've got any pictures on this, but can anyone guess who you had for this one?
Yeah, I had Onana, didn't I?
You did. You went quite bold.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I'm having a brain fart here. I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I don't think I had one for you. So George and Sam, you went quite bold, and me and Kev got hammered because we went safe. So Kev went for Alex Moreno, I went for Emi Buendia, and you went for Onana, and Sam went for Pau Torres.
So,
yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah. So if you were to have that again now, what would you? What? Hey, Sam.
Oh, were we not starting at 10? My bad.
No.
Sorry.
What?
Great effort there, Sam.
Great effort. Yeah.
I made it, right.
Last time on our pre-season show, it was you were waiting for your takeaway. That's why we were late. So were you waiting for your takeaway for the season review show?
No, I got gym shirt on and everything. No
okay.
takeaways for me anymore. I just
good.
fell asleep. Sorry. It's part and parcel of having young babies. You
Yes,
sit on the couch and gone. Sorry.
So we're just talking. We had our flop of the season. I was just saying that me and Kev went very safe with our choices. I went for Emi Buendia. Kev went for Alex Moreno. George went for Amadou Onana, and you went for Pau Torres as the flop of the season.
I don't think Sam's far off.
I don't think I was far off now.
No. So I certainly think out of those 4, if we were to say there was one, but if you were to have that choice again now, who would you say this season has been the flop of the season for Aston Villa?
Leon Bailey. Probably because of the heights he reached last year and this season in comparison, didn't play much even, let alone hit the heights. He was barely on the pitch. So I'd say Bailey, but Powell's not close by, not too far behind him, to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh, you think Bailey would have been the flop? Okay, then.
We'll put a pin in that. And who else? Yeah, so Adam says he's got to agree with the power shout. Stephen says Bailey. Would you disagree with that, George? Martin, would you say? I mean, it's never nice to talk about a flop of the season, but anyone else who's flattered to deceive a little bit this year?
No, I'd say that's pretty accurate. That's the first 2 I'd have said.
Yeah. Then
maybe the keeper as well. Maybe the goalie.
Yeah, Emmy. Yeah, would you say?
Emmy wasn't, by his standards, he wasn't, probably he didn't have the best of seasons, but, he still turned up with some moments, but not as much as he has in previous seasons before. So he definitely has dropped. I wouldn't say he's a flop per se, because you have to remember sometimes what's in front of him lets him down, because the keeper is always a scapegoat. So maybe you have to kind of point the finger at the defense as well.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, with the next ones, we had a breakthrough or dark horse player of the season, and we also did our young player of the season as well. So, but you had your very own Chris Kamara moment, George. Let's just take a little look.
Star for Villa this season.
I'm gonna have a Chris Kamara moment here because I can't remember who I picked.
Well, breakthrough dark horse. You had Tyrone Mings.
Sorry, yeah, so I did. Yeah, I know. Again, that's
No, more, Jeff.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably going to be Mings, but you know, we don't know how he's going to come back or the level he's going to come to when he comes back. But if he comes back, you know, anywhere close to what he was before the injury, Unai's going to find a place for him. I'm telling you now. I don't know where, but we really missed that aerial physicality at the back, and we missed it last season. Fourth or not fourth, we conceded a shitload of goals, and a fully fit Mings gets in that team somewhere, and he'll make a difference. You know, whether it's rest Powell for the champ, like, you know.
To be fair, he did find a place for him, and it was on the bench.
Yeah, but I do feel like you redeemed yourself. You forgot who you picked, and then you gave a good justification. And to be honest, the second half of the season, I think you've probably been backed up with your pick for Tyrone Mings, George.
Yeah, I stand fully correct there, lads. I must say. Yeah, everything I said there, wasn't it? We didn't have it. He's played. I think he started 14 games this season, and we haven't lost none of them. You know, he's done his job, hasn't he? They went back to Mings and Konza, and they stopped conceding goals, and we stopped looking such a soft touch. And unfortunately, it's not as if like Powell's rubbish or anything, but I just think towards the end, once Pau Torres got fit, Emery just couldn't leave it alone, could he? If he'd have just left Mings in, especially every away game, just keep playing Mings in the away games. And in the end,
there is an element.
Sorry, mate.
But there is an element of, like, Mings had that ACL injury, didn't he? So, like, he wasn't exactly the fittest of players. And unfortunately, when you're in that stage of the season, you need to play everybody who's 100% fit.
Yeah,
so then you run the risk of reoccurring that injury for Mings.
Do you know what? It was just a few games where I really thought we should have played. Obviously, the Cup semi-final. And I know I'm not alone there because we all said it on the morning of that game that he should be starting. Possibly United at the weekend. Another obvious game, especially if we're going to go out on them tactics of sitting away and letting them come at us. He should have played that one. And what was the last one? There was another game there that we let go, and he was screaming out for Mings, but he likes
Did
Torres.
He play against Man City?
No,
he
didn't.
No, maybe it was that one. It could have been that one.
Yeah.
Another one we lost. Yeah, but you know, obviously we finished the season pretty well. But I just think as a defensive unit, we were a better team with Mings starting, and that's just how I feel.
We could have gone with like 5 at the back, say, like if we brought Mings on for the games to show it up. If we're in a position where a draw is a good result, bring on Mings to, you know, keep that result there. Like you say, George, against Man United, when we were 0-0 up to a certain period, maybe just bring on Mings and just kind of keep the 0-0 draw and see what happens in another game and just try and run your luck. But unfortunately, football is a game of what's ifs, buts, and maybes.
And the thing is, with Pau Torres, last year we were sort of doing all the build-up through Torres, like the way we were creating our chances and scoring our goals. But I didn't really see that from Pau this season. So, you know, other than that, I just think, I think Mings would have been a better option quite a lot there to this year.
Yeah.
But all done now.
It is. Other breakthrough stars. Kev had Baranachea, Sam had Jadon Philogene, and I had Kosta Nedeljkovic. So they weren't exactly the greatest calls that we could have had. I did redeem myself slightly, although this isn't really a difficult one, with the young player of the year.
I went for Morgan Rogers. I think he's going to have a big season for Aston Villa. I think he's going to be a big part of the goals that we need to add. He obviously got 3 in a row at one point last season, and probably would have gone on to get more had he not got injured. So I do predict him to get somewhere near double figures. Kev, who is going to be your...
So that's slightly redeeming, but then I did think that I was the only one that picked him, and then I saw who everyone else had picked when I carried on watching it. And yeah, we all pretty much picked him, so I can't claim any glory there. So this is who we had.
I've had a stinker. I've had a stinker.
So me, you, and George Sam with the Morgan Rogers shout for Young Player of the Year, and yeah, he can't argue with the season that he's had, mate. Sam.
Oh, is that me?
Yes.
I'm still trying to get over this guy in the comments who's just called me Mo Salah. He's or you know what? I think I demonetized us last time with some of my language, so I'm gonna bite my tongue. But Arthur missed the picture of a wolf. That's a good one. You got me. What was the question? Morgan Rogers. Yeah, I think like you say, it was a pretty simple one. Yeah, he was brilliant at the back end of last season. Obviously, since he joined in January of last year, and then he was. I think when I chose, it was between him and JJ. I was really hoping that JJ was going to kick on, even though he doesn't feel like a young player because he's been here for so long now. But yeah, what a sensational season from him. What did he get? Second most goals, second most or most assists. I mean, we spoke last time about him kind of having a quiet end of the season, and could we attribute that to Asensio coming in and him being moved out to the right? He played the joint most games last year as well, 54 games in the season. So, you know, there's a lot of contributing factors, I guess, to like his sort of dip in form at the end. But I think across the season, he was sensational, and hopefully he's only going to kick on from here.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment, and whether hopefully he stays with Villa and we don't have to accept any bids, because I think a few more refinement and polishing those rough edges to his game, and I think he will be an amazing player next season if he stays fit. Now, our player of the season. Let's just take a little look.
That's ought to join the channel and become an official Villa Park Pod follower. So, Sam, I will come to you first. Who is going to be your Aston Villa player of the season?
I went with Leon Bailey. I just loved watching him last year. I feel like almost everything good that happened at Villa last year kind of went through him. Just exciting, brilliant, creative, like so much end product. You don't always get that from a winger. I just thought he was sensational last year, and the few little bit parts.
Oh dear.
All right. Look. Hindsight. Hold on, chill out. Relax. So hindsight's 2020, yeah? Was anything that I said at the time not true?
No, but it's just
how did I know he was going to go Leon Bailey of last year? I don't even know.
It's Leon Bailey of every other year.
Yeah, it's true, actually. Do you know what's really sad? When you showed that clip, I was getting ready to stand up and do like a little victory pose because I thought I said Tielemans because I was massively bigging him up and saying that he was going to take Doug Luiz's spot and we'll be fine as long as we got Tielemans. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Sorry about that.
No, you don't have to apologise. We've all had our howlers, and like you say, mate, it's one of them where you think, do you know what? He could have been brilliant, but he wasn't, was he? He just wasn't, and
he didn't play though. And this is the thing. Like, it's not like he had one of those seasons where like nothing came off for him. It was awful. I genuinely think back to how many times you've seen him or remembered him in a game. He's not even. He doesn't even make substitute appearances.
He's lost faith with him now, hasn't he?
Yeah,
given up on him.
He has flopped because I know I just said he was a flop of the season, but he hasn't played badly, but because he hasn't played.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. He obviously manager doesn't fancy him anymore, and you'd assume that he's on his way out. But I feel like it's almost harsh to criticize Leon Bailey because he hasn't had an opportunity to do anything. But not great from me. I'm gonna have to take that one on the chin.
Yeah, I think I've got the clip. Let me just see where I may have slightly redeemed myself, because we did Tielemans did get a mention, but none of us picked him. But let me just see if this is the right clip. Just bear with me.
He's gonna come back with
You
more
boys are playing on the
confidence.
safe side, aren't you?
Score our goals. He is our main man. So yeah, Ollie Watkins for me. But I was close to picking Yuri Tielemans as well. I think he's going to have a really good season. I really like the way he plays the game. I love the way how he's 1 and 2 touch. I love the way he sees passes quickly, and that's what's going to get us moving forwards more quickly this season. Because
is he going to be playing a different position, Rich?
I think he's probably going to play in that central midfield partnership with Onana. That'll probably be. It looks like his number one partnership.
So there you go. I did mention Tielemans, but I didn't pick him. We didn't pick him. So this is who we had as our player of the season. So George, you had Emi Martinez. Kev, Ollie Watkins, Sam, Leon Bailey, as we know, Martin, Morgan Rogers, and me, Ollie Watkins. So who would you give it to now? Is it a straight up? Is it as easy as just giving it to Yuri Tielemans, or would you pick anyone else?
You give it to Tielemans. I think he's been the best player by a country mile this season. The way we played, everything flows through him. It's sort of like a deep line playmaker at times. Second best would be Morgan Rogers, but he did have a bit of a drop off only for the fact he was told to kind of go out right, which his role was a little bit different as opposed to being on the left and through the middle because you can be a bit more creative. So maybe he probably would have won had he stayed in them positions. But for me, Tielemans, by a country mile, deserved it.
How do you feel about your Watkins shot, Rich?
Wow, he's nowhere near player of the season.
Your Leon Bailey show.
Yes, better than Leon Bailey.
No need to get personal, boys. I'm asking the genuine control of the show. We're getting enough smoke in the comments, by the way. I don't know if you just see, but Aaron said that Martin looks like he's in Winston Green.
I know, yeah.
What's he doing?
He's in Winston Green prison.
Winston Green prison, a famous prison in Birmingham.
No, but genuinely, Rich, like, obviously you picked Watkins, and goal scoring wise, he didn't have a bad season, got a decent number of assists as he always does. But how do you just said you don't think that he's anywhere near player of the season? What's your rationale?
Yeah, I just think he's had too many games where he hasn't been anywhere near as effective as he could have been, and some of that could be down to his ability. Some of that could be down to his sort of frustrations with 1 or 2 injuries when he came back from pre-season, not having a proper pre-season. Some of it could be down to being a little bit unsettled, but yeah, he just hasn't had the same season. You know, if he wants to be classed as one of the top strikers and all that kind of stuff, 16 goals has to be a standard, and then it has to be more than that from there. And he's kind of done the standard for where we are as a top 6 team. So yeah, I think we needed more from him. We needed more from him in the big moments, in some of the big games, and the games where we were expected to win. Like he's scored against the likes of Arsenal away from home when we were 2-0 down and kind of just threw caution to the wind a little bit. But he didn't turn up against Palace in the semi-final, as did numerous other players, I will add. He didn't turn up against Man United away in the last game, where again numerous players, but he's going to be expected to be one of those leadership whatever it is, the leadership group. So yeah, I think that's the key frustration with Ollie Watkins, unfortunately.
It's worth saying as well, he scored 5 more goals than John Duran, despite playing about 40 games more than him and God knows how many minutes, and the fact that John Duran's not been here since January. So I think John Duran finished up as our 3rd leading goal scorer and probably should have won goal of the season as well, considering all things considered. But I
think it's Rashford come in, didn't he, and took his place for a bit as well.
Yeah. I mean,
but it's those 11 goals from Duran. Is that like just in the Premier League, or is that all competitions?
All competitions it was on that stat. Yeah, because he scored a few in the Champions League, didn't he? Well, obviously he scored against Bayern and he scored against Leipzig. So I think it was just 2, wasn't it?
Bologna
Bologna. Yeah.
He carried us to Christmas, Duran, really.
Yeah,
He
that
did.
goal against
He
Everton as
absolutely
well.
did.
Oh, that comeback.
Oh, unreal. I mean, I think they want to kick him out of Saudi at the minute, though. I think he dropped off a cliff. His form over there. But anyway, yeah, I think it's been a frustrating one for numerous ones, and that was kind of our awards. And I think I don't think we were too far off, if I'm honest, with regards to how we thought players were going to do. I think some of our predictions in terms of league finishes and that were pretty off. But just round the room, Martin, just in terms of your own reflections on this season now, with a few days after the end of it, what have you made of this season?
It's a bit hit and miss, isn't it? There was at moments, a time where we delivered, the game against Celtic, we delivered, finished top 8 of the Champions League. We delivered in getting the game to Wembley. I know, albeit against Preston, but you can only beat what's in front of you. We delivered, in some big games in the Premier League as well. But when it came to the defining moments, the ones that really do make your season, we didn't deliver. So it is a bit hit and miss. Although we had a great run in the end of this season, but unfortunately, you were playing catch up at that point, and that's something for us that is frustrating, because our 4-6 games in the league, we had 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat, and that's a great start to have, and we should have built on that. And although we had a lot of injuries, but the season before we had a lot of injuries, and we were still winning games, being in the top 4 while juggling the Conference League. Where now, even though we had all them injuries, it just kind of felt like the quality just dropped quite a bit. But when everyone was back fit, we were head and shoulders above a lot of teams in the league with the way we played, battering them in the midfield. So for me, it's a bit hit and miss. Although an enjoyable one, we still have European football, and that's all we can really ask for. Had you told me at the start of the season we would get Europa League while juggling all these competitions, I'd have taken it. But for the fact that we could have got the Champions League, it does leave you with a bit of a bitter taste, but you just kind of have to take it for what it is. And Europa League is still not a bad competition at the end of the day. Unai Emery, he's the master winning it. He's won it 3 times in a row with Sevilla. Why not get a port with Aston Villa?
Yeah, agreed. I can't disagree with any of that. George, anything on your thoughts on the season overall?
Yeah, it's had its moments. I'd probably use the word disjointed. As Mark said there, we started pretty well, didn't we? First sort of few games. Then the Champions League crept in on us, and and we had some amazing moments in that. But with that, we then started getting injuries galore, didn't we? And then our away form fell off a cliff, and we couldn't stop shipping goals away, and it looked like our season was going to go the way that the casual fan all said it would, that we wouldn't be able to cope, and eventually we sort of got our shit together, didn't we? It got to January, and I found we've always been in and amongst it around between 10th and 6th, haven't we? Always looking like we might make a go of it, but our time was never coming. We'd always played more games than everyone else. Our goal difference had already taken a hammering. But then January come, and we had a smashing transfer window, bringing in Rashford, Asensio, Marlon. Asensio, started off like a steam train, didn't he? 8 goals in 7 games or something. We started getting on a good run. The Champions League carried on ticking along. The FA Cup, we were always laughing on here, aren't we? We're all going to get knocked out in the 3rd round every time. Had a great run there all the way through to the semis. And then, the league form, Jesus Christ. I mean, what a job we've done to get ourselves back into it. You're thinking in that second half of the season, we've beaten Newcastle, Man City, Brentford, Bournemouth, Fulham, Forest. We've done everyone around us pretty much. And then we get to the last day when the door gets pushed out open for us, and we bump into our old friends Man United. And I honestly, lads, I'm absolutely devastated that we've not made it, because it was there for us in the end.
Well, Newcastle lost as well. Newcastle lost.
Exactly. If they'd have all just won and it wasn't possible, fair enough. You say, look, we've left the run too late, and it is what it is. The better teams have made it, but we had the golden chance, and we've blown it at the end, haven't we? So we've missed out on the golden goose. We've missed out on the golden goose of getting to the final against well, obviously, Palace ended up winning it, didn't we? But you know what I'm saying? We missed the chance of getting to an FA Cup final. The Champions League was great. We done ourselves justice there. We got to as far as we should have got. We had a good go at PSG. All right, in the end, it wasn't quite good enough, but a quarter final, I'd have bit your hand off for that. So, you know what I mean? I think it's been a good season. It's just finished on a bit of a downer, hasn't it? One game. If we hadn't lost that United game, we'd have been absolutely buzzing now, and it'd been a 10 out of 10 season. So
Just to kind of bring your point to the Champions League there, George, I think a lot of fans would have put us down to not even finish in the top 8 and maybe would have lost the playoff. Like, not Villa fans, just the outside normal fans.
No, I think
would have put us out completely out of the equation for a quarter final.
Yeah, and I think Villa fans would have said get to the playoffs and see how we do there. But yeah, to take the game as it was, all the PSG as it was all the way, it was some achievement. I thought you were going to go full Michael Caine then, George, and go, you're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. Kevin said 8 out of 10 this season, quarterfinal, Champions League, semi-final of the FA Cup, and the 6th place finish. And Bongo says a good season for him. Champions League memories, says Michael. How are you feeling now, Sam? We obviously did our sort of therapy session on Sunday. I thought it was a really good show, to be fair, and lots of people gave us some good comments and that. And you made me feel better actually, because you gave a good solo at the end, a good rant at the end about how good the season was. Are you still there with that, or are you more disappointed as the days have gone on?
I thought you were going to have the cheek to ask me if I'd calm down.
No. It was me. You calmed me down, mate.
The boys have summed it up pretty well. It was a season of moments, right? It was a season of absolutely sensational, never to be forgotten moments. I've said it on almost every podcast that I've been on, but that goal against Bayern Munich, that result against PSG at home, even though we lost the tie, like just going so toe to toe with the team that are most likely going to win it. We'll find out on Saturday, although Inter look really good. Just doing that, like you say, beating Newcastle, the cup run, just felt like a big team at so many different parts of the season. I really felt like justified going into work and throwing my weight around, talking to my mates about football. I really felt it this season for the first time, probably in my lifetime, that Villa were like as big as I've always claimed that they are. I regained a lot of pride this season from our performances, the way people talk about us, some of the football we played as well. On our day, we were sensational. But it's just it's the same old Villa in terms of missed opportunities, missed the chance to capitalize on other teams' results time after time this season. There were so many times. It kind of goes back to George. You see my text. It goes back to it. It's just I'd like to see next year. So like development in terms of mentality, like the football we all know is. Football is a fluid game. Some days you're good, some days you're bad, and we can forgo that. But I think mentalities in big games, must-win games, opportunities to capitalize. I just feel like Villa's still in that mindset of not sort of pouncing on those opportunities. And like I said last time, I think the kicker is it doesn't matter what the point gap is between us and Man United. Could be 30, could be 40. They could be bottom of the league with last game to go with 0 points. We could be winning the league and they'd still batter us. I'd quite like to get over that hoodoo. And not just for United, but Newcastle away, Palace anywhere. There are teams that we just don't like playing against. And it's not an Unai Emery problem. It's like a Villa problem. We just always seem to lose these teams. And I'd like to sort of correct that for next season. But on the whole, I think actually, if you look at it from a really balanced and logical perspective, although we all want to be in the Champions League for the prestige and the money, the Europa League really actually presents us with another opportunity or another genuine, like realistic avenue to get into the Champions League. And like mine, said Unai Emery's won it 4 times, 3 times in a row with Sevilla, won it with Villarreal. This is his competition.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Like Unai Emery someone accused him of being a cup manager, and in those cup moments or those cup type games, he's not got us to where we want to be. But I still have a lot of faith in him. I have faith in a lot of the players, and I expect a big shake-up next season. So all in all, not bad.
Yeah, I agree with the Europa League. I think it's a good one for us to be in for this coming season, particularly. And we saw with the Champions League, we had to put so much into those games, so much emotion as well into those games. And maybe some of the games in the Europa League might allow him to rotate the squad a little bit. I know it'll be Thursday, Sunday, which is a little bit more difficult to manage, but it might be able to, put 1 or 2 fringe players in and rest players for the Thursday night to play on the Sunday, whereas a lot of the time he had to go full force, didn't he, with each game, which was more difficult. So it could present us with a really good opportunity. Guys, thank you everyone for supporting and watching the channel. We've got nearly 150 in the chat. So can we get over 200 watching tonight? Make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't already, and do hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. As I said before, we're literally just over 300 now away from 6,000 subscribers. So please do help us get there by liking, subscribing, and keep your comments flowing in. A couple more questions before we finish up our season review. Sam, you mentioned it being a season of moments. Tell me your moment of the season.
Duran against Bayern Munich. Or Duran against Everton. I was lucky enough to be at both of those games. And I don't know about you guys, but I've not been accustomed as a Villa fan, at my time of being a Villa fan, to seeing like proper screamers. Like if you Google Villa screamers, you normally get like Hitzelsberger or like that's how far back Lee Hendry. But they were just massive, like jaw-dropping goals and jaw-dropping moments. Just the euphoria around that Bayern game. And I think the way that it set us up for the rest of the Champions League, I think it really just gave us a belief that we could beat anyone. And, for me, that was just the moment I really started to believe in this season, believe in the Champions League. And it was early doors, which is really good. But that was, for me, and I think what it showed as well was the versatility and the options that we had, and paid an opportunity for other players to come through and make impact, and showed our depth. And for me, it was that goal against Bayern Munich. I think it was a really, really, like, Villa Park was absolutely just popping off, and I loved every second of it. It was amazing.
Yeah, Martin.
I'm going to go with Duran against Everton. I was lucky enough to see that goal from the whole thing. And it just, the moment he hit it, the way he just swerved outside, and Pickford tried his best to pull off a big camera save and just wasn't getting anywhere near it, right into the top corner. And of course, it was a special moment for me because it brought my little brother to the match as well, because he was always saying for years that he wanted to come with me to Villa Park and see a game. And even though we went 2-0 down, I was looking at him the whole time like, you're a jinx. I've never lost every time I've come here. You're an absolute obviously.
You're never coming again. Yeah.
No, I was literally saying to him, if these lose, you are never coming again. And obviously Villa go on to win 3-2 with Duran's screamer. And my brother just looked at me and went, what have I witnessed? And I said, I haven't even got a clue. You're not a jinx anymore. I love you.
Yeah.
that was the moment of the season.
Yeah. Fantastic. George?
Yeah, probably got to go with exactly what Sam said. The Bayern Munich game was just special, wasn't it? I remember just having a moment in that game. I was obviously there, same as you. And I just sort of stood there and I thought, this is what it's like to support a proper big club. It's the first time I'd ever really felt that in my whole life. I was like, Bayern Munich, Jesus Christ, absolute giants. And we've just recreated our greatest ever moment from winning it. And we've gone and beat them, at the first opportunity. And that's our introduction to the Champions League. And, that was sort of, this is what Aston Villa are all about. And I just absolutely loved that night, sort of something you'd be telling your grandkids, wouldn't it, in years to come. Absolutely fantastic.
It's happened again. is happening. Bayern Munich. Yeah, what a night, man. What a night. Incredible. What about you, Rich? Go on.
Well, I think Kevin summed it up for me that the third goal against PSG and that PSG second half was just incredible. Being in the ground then, and when Rashford went on that run first, and he brought that save out of Donnarumma, that was like, I was just like in awe of a player for the first time in a long time, seeing him running at full speed, taking on 2 or 3 men, cutting inside, then hitting that shot top corner, and then Donnarumma pulls that save out. That's what you pay money to see, those moments. That is like world class football. And then we have the corner, he takes on 2 men, cuts it back to Konsa, puts it in the net. And like, I literally had to sit down because I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I never screamed and shouted and got as passionate as I ever have on that moment. And I had to sit down and take a breather. But that's probably the moment for me. Being in the ground at that point as well was fantastic. And then probably a close second, I'd have loved to have been at the game, but I was too nervous, was when we battered Newcastle, not just beat them, when we battered them 4-1, and Onana smashes it into the top corner, and then I could lord it over my Geordie supporting friends. Sorry, Geordie Team for Life, if you're in the chat. But yeah, that gave me a lot of pride. I was walking around Newcastle with my Villa shirt on.
Yes, we won the battle, but not the war on that one, Rich.
I know, but I can still dine out on it. 4-1. That was an amazing victory. Yeah. Just to round off then, thoughts head to next season a little bit. We've kind of intimated on the, I guess, rebuild transition period, a bit of uncertainty in the club and that kind of stuff. So what do you think? It might not be players, Martin, but where do you think Villa need to where do you think, and what do you think Villa need to improve on for next season?
I think there's 3 or 4 positions really we kind of need to improve on. I think we need to bring in a centre half, a right back, a striker, and potentially like maybe an extra midfielder, because you might see 1 or 2 midfielders go this summer. So maybe someone there just for a bit of squad depth. And possibly, if rumour has it to be true, going to need a goalkeeper.
Yeah. George, same question to you.
Sorry, what are you saying? What do we need for next season?
Yeah, so like, it doesn't necessarily have to be positions or players, but like, where do you think, or what do you think Villa need to do to improve on for next season?
Well, I think squad-wise, I mean, I know like the loans and that, they're going to probably end up having to go back, and our budget's going to be adjusted now because of the PSR and the fact we've missed out on the Champions League. But the squad that we finished the season with, I think is bloody decent. Once all them injuries got back fit, we've seen how the back end of the season went. I think that squad is pretty good. It's just a shame in reality we're probably not going to be able to keep it all together. But I just think the continuity of like what Newcastle have done, that's the reason why they're back in the Champions League again, because they don't keep pissing around. Liverpool have just won the title without signing a player. Slot has just thought not too much is broken here. Just keep the boys together, don't rock the boat, and they've absolutely romped the league. So I don't think too much is wrong, but I tell you what, he needs to stop pissing around with Rodgers' position for a start. Pick where Rodgers is supposed to play and leave him there, and give the boy a rest a little bit. Because I just think him and Tielemans, I think they overplayed in that lot at the second half of the season. And there was opportunities there to rest them, and Unai would never do it for some reason. So yeah, there's that. Obviously, we're finally going to say goodbye to my favourite goalkeeper, Mr. Robin Olsen. So that's about 3 years too late. But cheers, Robin. Thanks for coming. But so that one's over. Other than that, just take these opportunities when they come, like the Palace, the Man United. We're a good side, but we haven't quite got the bollocks to get over the line at the big occasions when the chance is there. And I don't know how you fix that, but that's what needs fixing.
Yeah. Adam said we need to be less scared of playing our own game away from Villa Park.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah.
Stephen said 2 good halves of the season. Rub says we need characters, guys. That's what we need. Scotty says defenders need to score more, as do the midfield. It's really poor. Dicky just says mentality. And Kamikaze said we need to get rid of Trashford, as in Rashford. That's not gonna go well with Martin. That Carrie says Duran was never given a fair chance when Watkins was fluttering, even after scoring winners, and that caused the bad attitude. If Emery was brave enough to sell Watkins in Jan, John Duran would have thrived. Is that you writing that, Sam? I heard you typing.
We're getting working in the background there from someone.
I couldn't possibly comment on that. I mean,
what do you think then, Sam? Where and what do you think Villa need to improve on next season?
I don't think we have enough players over the height of 6'2", Rich.
Have you been listening to me all for the last 3 years?
All we need is we need more fouls. We need bigger players. Just the biggest Dan Burn or above. Nothing else.
Long throws, boot it out into Rosed.
The idea that Dan Burn takes throw-ins, by the way, is laughable to me. Like, what's the point? Get in the box. What do we need? Obviously, I spoke earlier about the mentality and just not showing too much respect to teams who historically have probably performed better than us or been bigger than us or whatever the criteria is. But I think a lot of it is like the structure of the club is what it is. We'll find a way. I know that they're moving some stocks and shares about and transferring ownership of the stadium and blah blah blah. So financially, we'll be fine despite George's best efforts to make us. Honestly, he feels like he's like a fear mongerer, like some sort of news broadcaster who makes everyone afraid of the financials. Like, honestly, he's going to start selling us insurance for our tickets and our seats. I think the structure of the club remains. The most important parts: the ownership, Emery, Monchi, what's his name, Vidigani. I know Chris Heck is off, but he'll leave. Another Yank will come in and start renting us for all our money. So we'll be fine. I think really where you do need to look at is on the pitch. I must say it would be nice to have a bit of a changing of the guard up front. I know Liam Delap is on his way to Chelsea. So he was the name on a lot of people's lips, but it's not gonna happen for us. But I think
you hear a lot of the rumours. Sam, sorry to jump in. They're saying if Delap goes in at Chelsea, Emery will go for Jackson.
Well, he's worked with Jackson a lot, and Jackson said in an interview recently when he said, which managers taught you the most? He said, Unai Emery taught me how to play football. Clearly, he needed a little bit longer, but he's.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Chelsea fans are saying
the lesson finished halfway through.
Well, yeah,
you never took the test. I think up front. I mean, I wouldn't swap Watkins for Jackson if I'm being honest, and that is, if that's even coming from me. I think what we saw as well, especially in that Man United game and towards the back end of the season, is we just need some movement on the wings. I've never been a massive fan of this. Let the fullbacks go forward and be fullbacks and wingers. Traditional wingers. I still believe there's a place for them in the game, and you need people who can take a man on. And some of the best teams this season. If you look at Forest, how did they do that? Elanga on one side, Hudson-Odoi on the other. Newcastle, they had. Pace, power. Jacob Murphy had a brilliant season. Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon. There's still a place for wingers in this game, and I feel like when Rashford came in and started playing off that left or playing up front, because he knows how to navigate that. He's quick. He's tricky. That goal that you said, Consta's third goal, that all came off. Rashford standing someone up on the wing and just doing what he does. And I would really like to just see some pace and power. And I think like George said, just the confidence to rotate in the right moments. Don't wait till people get injured before you start rotating. Rotate in the right moments. Pick the games that it's a catch-22 because you say play him against Southampton, rotate the squad. But those are the games that you're like, well, look, these are ones that we can definitely win. So we have to play our best players. But I think a bit of rotation. We need to change. Maybe a right back. I don't know if anyone. I've said for a while a right back. And I think
Would you say cash for him?
Yeah, I would. Do you know what? I'd take a bag of Haribos for him. So yeah, I think just a changing of the guards. There are players that have been here for a while, the likes of maybe Luca Dean, or just freshen it up. And the one thing I would say about next season is there is no one in that squad, including Morgan Rogers, including Ollie Watkins, including Emi Martinez. There is no one in that squad that I am afraid to lose, because either we can afford to lose them, or, for example, if Morgan Rogers goes, how much money are we going to get for him? 100 mil? I wouldn't take anything less than that. I don't think the club would. So everyone is replaceable. It's going to be a summer of identifying talent, and I think we're going to do a lot of business early. We've already started with that. Is it PSV final, wherever they got that kid
final striker? Zeppakino Redmond. Yeah, young player, obviously. But
by the time I managed to say Nedeljkovic, he left. Like, I've been practically 6 months. We'll be fine. Big season next year, and I think we're just going to carry on building. Like we spent the last 3 years now in the top 7, which is absolutely amazing, all things considered. So we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Boys, it's been a fun show looking back at our predictions. It always is, and I don't think we did too badly, if I'm being honest. A couple of stinkers in there. Yeah, Sam, I will give you a little bit of grace on the Leon Bailey one, because, as you say, he just hasn't really played. But yeah, all good fun. I do think the worst shouts was me and you, Martin, saying that West Ham and Man United would make the top 4. But yeah,
where did I say we would finish?
14, didn't you?
You said we would finish 5th, so you weren't too bad.
Oh, damn you, Man United. God damn it.
I know. But yes, we will be back, of course, throughout the summer with our fans forum shows, discussing transfers, discussing the latest news with Villa. I'll be back with Transfer Talk with our rumour shows. Maybe every day, it seems at the moment, but we'll have plenty of content for you over the summer, and then obviously kicking off the new season. It'll be around as soon as you know it. I just want to say thank you to you boys for all your support and all your help this season. Obviously, Kev hasn't made it on the show today. Thank you to Kev as well. Thanks to Gareth. Thanks to Mark. I'm losing head. Mark, for doing all.
Only those are pictures every week.
You can tell how important you are, guys, by the fact that Rich can't remember your
that
names.
He does. And thanks to Nick for doing the music. Thanks for everyone watching. And yeah, thanks for all your support on the channel. Please do continue to support us over the summer and into next season. Loads of big plans coming up for next season on the channel as well. Boys, have a great one. Everyone, have a great one. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.